everybody? Welcome back to the Price to Sell podcast. I'm your host, Matthew Campoli. And before we get into today's fantabulous, that's a word now, fantastic guest, please don't forget to share these podcasts with a friend, give us a rating. And but yeah, we appreciate all your support. We have Mr. Walter Galvao in the building today. And I'm super excited because we're going to get into all things development. I didn't even know he's only 4 years in and just crushing it. So if someone to take an amazing idea, niche down and go all in on it, it's this guy. And what he's accomplished in 4 years is just mind blowing. So we have a lot to learn today from him. So thank you for coming.
No, thank you, Matt, very much for having me on your podcast.
Appreciate it. It's awesome. So we're going to dig into a lot of things on the development side, some of the bigger things in real estate. Also, you do a lot of things on the investing side on your own too. So you're just a one-stop shop for knowledge.
Yeah,
so thanks for that.
No, not a problem. And I'm here to share, here to help out your viewers and kind of get a sense of what I did, and maybe they can get a little bit of a tidbit.
Yeah.
That's what I'm here for today.
Awesome. So let's get into a little bit of a background for you.
Sure. So I'm Portuguese background. I was, first of all, involved. Good Portuguese. So when I first started, my background really came from the hospitality industry.
Yep.
I was 23 years of doing that, working in the convention center. I did a little bit of hotel as well. And then after I branched out and did what's called event design and event planning, my core market in that area was corporate Fortune 500 companies, as well as very high-end weddings and events. So, the market was changing, so I decided I need to go into a new career path. And I would ask my own clients, listen, what do you think I should get into? They're like, I think real estate. But I always had this, a reputation of, vacuum salespeople were realtors, just because of my own experiences, if you will. So what I decided to do is kind of research the top realtors in the industry. And I said, you know what? I like what they're doing, and I think I can do it as well. So I decided to take my course and dive right into it. After I took my course, I then went into it full-time basis. I was not a believer of doing anything part-time basis. And my first deal was a hotel deal.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and again, it was just my sphere of people in the industry that I was working with and had great relationships with. And then on the other Fortune 500 companies, you can only imagine who they might be in the roster. So that's why when people say use your sphere of your contacts, that's exactly where I went to.
What was the purchase price of that hotel?
It was $4 million.
Wow.
Yeah, so that GCI on that one was $120,000.
That's what a good start, man.
Yeah, it was a good start. Now, again, besides that one, though, there was a dry spell, which we all have felt those before. And for 6 months, I did not transact.
Okay.
And what happened is I was starting at 9 a.m. all the way to 9 p.m. And I was connecting with my sphere. And then what happened after that, Matt? It just blew up and snowballed. And I think that's one thing I would tell people that are watching is don't get discouraged. If you're putting the effort and you're doing it that seriously, the outcomes will come. Just be patient.
Yeah, I love that because many people will get discouraged when they're plugging away.
Correct.
Without results.
Correct.
Instantaneously.
Yeah.
And then stop.
Correct.
Or quit.
And
right?
ask your your team lead or your brokerage manager owners type of thing. What is it that you should be doing, or what is it that you're doing wrong? Because it's a different play now. It was easy 2 years ago or these last 2 years, but not anymore. Mm-hmm. I actually find it'll be worse these next 2 years than it's ever been. And you're seeing it. People are parking their licenses. People have decided to go a different career path because they found that it wasn't that easy. Mm-hmm. So the true people that will do well are the people that are really focusing on 3 pillars of getting new clients.
What are those 3 pillars?
So you got to decide. So there's many different pillars, such as social media, there's door knocking, there's cold calling, there's face-to-face networking events, which is one of my favorites.
Yeah.
But whatever you do, choose 1, 2, 3. And then do one very, very good. So mine tends to be in-person events.
Awesome. And you're clearly excelling at that. I just want to give a really juicy number to people because it's the beginning and they're going to get excited, but we're going to dig into how you do this. You did a really big deal last year.
Yes, I did.
Can we share the number?
Sure. Yeah, so I sold one of my biggest commercial transactions for about $36 million. GCI on that one was about $1 million. And it was pretty easy, I'll be honest, to find the actual purchaser for it. And from that deal, there's been many other connections that we've made because of the reputation that I locked that deal in such a short period of time. But again, you just kind of gotta keep on that I could have relaxed for a year or the rest of the year and just went on vacations. But I saw that there was sort of a decline coming and just kept hustling it.
Love that, man. That's cool. That's really cool.
Thank you.
So kudos to you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so let's get into something we talked about earlier. Multiple streams of income. I know you coming into the business, you came with that mindset of like, real estate could be a good vehicle, but my mind's also thinking into other areas, right?
Yeah, it's something that I, again, encourage anybody getting into this industry. When I first joined, I thought it was a lot of it was archaic mindsets, that there was these people doing it for 40 or 50 years and they weren't actually financially, able to retire, which was odd to me, and I don't want that to happen to myself. So I quickly learned to diversify. So I don't only do real estate sales, I also will do development. I did a custom home last year. We're doing 9 luxury bungalows in Georgetown, and I just purchased and acquired another property where we're doing, again, in Milton. And it really came about because I was selling to developers. So I'm like, well, if that guy can do it or my client can do it, let me try it out.
No one thinks like that. People rarely think like that.
No, but again, as you know, I got 2 sons. One's 21, and one's 19. People don't think like that because they weren't brought up like that. I think sometimes, and if you want to be like that, then aspire to hang around people who have that same mindset. Because I never fear of getting myself into something. So when I got my Tarion license, I was actually recovering from COVID.
Okay.
In April 2021, I literally almost died from it. And
Wow.
the 6 weeks during recovery, I literally had an oxygen mask, and I simply did my Tarion courses online. So that's how much I go. So my personality is a type A, and I'm a driver. I just do it, and I don't look back. So the other thing, too, that I'm getting into is actually technology. So it's actually finding a way to make money without doing anything, basically. So we're in the process right now of creating one of the most extraordinary apps in the real estate market. And I know you probably heard that before from maybe others, but the reason I say that is because it's both a win-win for the realtor and for the end user. Where right now I find that there's apps that are out in the marketplace and they're really only focused for the actual brokerage that launched the app. So those will probably be the 3 different biggest ones: real estate, development, and then technology.
Very cool.
Thanks.
Very cool. Yeah, like I'm a big believer in multiple streams too. I have a podcast.
Yeah.
Right. I sell real estate, property management company now.
Good for you.
So there's so many opportunities out there.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm sure a lot of agents feel the same, but I'm sure a lot of people don't want to be selling real estate their whole life and showing their whole life. So got to scale at some point. There's so many ways to scale, but love it. Very much in alignment with my thought processes.
That's awesome. And again, you got to be careful with burnout as
Of course,
well.
done that a million times.
So yes, so it's hard to recover from that. But once you learn that valuable lesson that you can't burn yourself out, then you got to take the time. And I've always been a type of individual, and this is what Keller Williams, my brokerage, we believe in, is living life by design, meaning that set your life expectations first, work backwards, how much it'll cost to sustain that living for the longer period of time that you're looking for. And then you know how much you need to hustle.
Yeah.
Don't just hustle without knowing the reason why you're hustling, basically.
Yeah. Well, that's why I just did 10 days in Costa Rica.
That's right. Saw that.
Just to balance out my nervous system.
You got it. And it looked like a really good retreat as well. And you went
fantastic.
with Nick as well, which is awesome. And again, it's resetting. Some people wait till January, others wait mid-year, whatever the case may be. But I'm infamous for taking vacations. I love traveling. So we already have, example, 3 trips booked. But that's for me to digress from the day-to-day hustle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very important. Very important. Love it. So let's get into, I haven't really spoken development with too many people here. Let's dive into the sales side first a little bit, and then just the developing side, right? Because you do both. So
on the sales side of development, it's a very interesting market sector. There tends to be what we consider the 5 large commercial brokerages that have been doing for quite some time, obviously. But anyone that's selling residential that's quasi considering it, the way you got to approach it is there is a little bit of a learning curve. Be careful not to try to sell something that you are very much unaware of what you're selling, because the cost of a lawsuit will be quite more significant. We're not talking about a home that might be $1 million. You're talking about land parcels that could be 80 million, 100 million, whatever the case may be. So what I mean by that is that, attend network events, attend conferences, seminars. You can do courses offline. It's not a big learning curve, but you do have to very much educate yourself, because you'll find that even your broker of record might not know a lot of stuff in that realm. Some people will join one of the top 5 brokerages, and some might join a team where they're very well versed in that specific market. So the way we look at opportunities is it's basically following employment, infrastructure is another one, and seeing what is currently happening with big developers of what they're acquiring. So that's really the 3 different types of areas that we focus, and we basically penetrate that marketplace, that area. We do our door knocking, we do our cold calling, and we do a lot of the face-to-face, because these could be anywhere from farmers that have been living on a property for 4 generations, or it could be someone who bought it as a land banking play. But you'll find in land development that once you develop a relationship and you bring someone an opportunity, they're forever loyal to you, because you just made them a ton of money.
For sure.
So that's the way we look at it with our client base. I can't afford some of those opportunities myself, but we are looking at now creating partnerships. So you might say, Walter, listen, I got to, I want to invest with your group. And now we're starting to pool these monies, because we're like, listen, we're realtors. We know what the market's like. We're the best to be equipped to handle a development of opportunity. Why don't we do it from that standpoint? So that would be the land sales. One thing I will say as well is that out of, let's say, 100 offers, you might only get 5 that might actually follow through. They are a longer play. There are many, many more conditions that you're dealing with, but it's big money. So you just got to, know what you're getting into with the deposits, and, sometimes there's secondary deposits, third deposits, that kind of structure. But again, don't fear it. Work with somebody, align yourself with somebody else. I love alliances with fellow realtors, because I call them boots on the ground. There might be a guy in Durham. There might be another person I'm dealing with in Aurelia. It's really just bringing the opportunity and sharing it off market, because 90% of land deals are done off market, to be honest. They're either exclusive or they're just a known. So it's a matter of networking with fellow like-minded realtors and bringing those opportunities to your clients.
Love it. So what would let's break down a development, not so much the deal, maybe the process on, let's just say it's going to be, maybe a low-rise development of, say, 10 to 20 homes. Like, what does that look like from start to finish?
So in terms of actually developing it yourself?
Yeah, I mean, like, even as an agent, like, what are you looking for?
Yeah, so
what
what
are
you're
some
looking
key
for,
points?
yeah, so what you're definitely looking for, number one, is the servicing of that lot.
But sorry, before, like, just
Sure.
talk about so this would be, just to highlight, this would be like an agent who has a buyer who's a developer saying, hey, I need a parcel that's X amount of acres, looking to do 10 to 20 houses. So that's what this would be.
Okay,
so what
so
would the
two
steps
five,
look
yeah.
like?
So you always need to find out what their goals and objectives are, what type of density they would like to do, as you just mentioned, low density. But then you also want to find out the area. When you have clients that will say, I will buy anywhere 2 hours of GTA, your wheels are just going to keep spinning and you're wasting a lot of your time. They always have an area where they have a particular liking towards. And then basically once you go into that area, we use a platform called CoStar, but there are obviously, we have Geo Warehouse as realtors as well. And again, look at social media. You won't believe how many properties are listed through different social media groups as well. So once you search and think that there's an opportunity, I don't show it yet to that particular buyer. I do my due diligence. So meaning that I check with the planning department, I check with zoning, I know why I'm suggesting it to them. I actually check what costs, what solds have happened in pre-construction in that area. And we're very particular that we create a deck so that when my client receives it, okay, I know why he's suggesting it. And there's a lot of time and effort and energy spent into it, but it wasn't just a piece of paper that was emailed or faxed or whatever you want to call it. I really did all the work for them. If it's not for that buyer, maybe he might know another buyer. And that's the beauty about development too, is that you ask those buyers that question. Listen, it's not good for you, but you know of somebody else. Sometimes they disclose that, right? So therefore, you finding the opportunity, you did your research, you're selling it to them, And then basically, the only one thing I will ask for my clients, if it's not good for you, just tell me why. Because I don't want to waste them or bombard them with other opportunities that it's just not their forte. Sometimes too, Matt, what happens is they know of someone else they will share it with. So they will just take it upon themselves to do so, or they'll partner up with somebody else.
Yeah. Awesome. That's amazing. So now on the actual developing side, you've done quite a few things yourself.
Yeah.
Did you learn those processes just by selling it and then kind of taking interest, seeing the numbers, seeing what these guys are making, and then say, you know what, let's try this out myself?
Yeah, exactly. Because again, when you're having conversations with developers, you're understanding what they're willing to pay cost per door for land, or GFA, which stands for gross floor area. There's a difference of price when it comes to the actual type of opportunity, whether it's stacked home, detached, or condo. And then you're understanding why how they look at it. Some of them I've been fortunate to actually see their performance, when they're doing the allocation of costs, carrying costs of the mortgage and interest and stuff like that. Had very good conversations with their mortgage agents of how they're getting approved into that direction. But basically, it was a learning curve. So once I started to see, I came across a very fortunate opportunity off market. The owner of the property was in his late 70s, didn't want to do it himself any further. He literally hand wrote a sign, stapled it to the telephone post, and I just happened to be one of the first to call him. So we locked it down. We did our due diligence. Most times it's minimum 60 to 120 day due diligence period. And upon the research, we found it was going to be profitable. And that's one of the ones that we're working on currently today.
That's amazing.
Yeah, thank you.
Cool.
Yeah.
If you need help selling it, let me know.
We actually did sell out of that one, which is great.
Okay.
And we did sell out in the good times, obviously,
Yeah.
when the hype was happening during these COVID times.
Yep.
But pre-construction is a good market. There are obviously realtors that just focus on that 100%. But moving forward, though, we would definitely do things a little bit more different by having a database in advance. Right now, we have a database of about 18,000 realtors.
Nice.
But our goal is always to continue to expand. So we will always say to people, listen, send us your email, send us your contact info. We'll add you to the list. Because what happens with my developers is they will say to me, listen, do you know of someone that might be able to assist us in selling it? So although they might hire a main brokerage for the selling side of it, they still want you to network with other fellow realtors. So we are now going to be doing in-person events, doing launches, doing it in person. Let's have a glass of wine. Let's have some food.
Some called verde.
Yeah, called verde. Or sags. And we're going to be, kind of sharing what we have in our roster because it's helping our developer. And he's appreciative of that.
Yeah.
That he's like, listen, man, you helped me out, with that last sales launch. Find me some more opportunities. And it's always about creating a win-win situation for sure.
Yeah, it's amazing, man. It's so everything you're saying is so crucial, and it's simple.
Definitely.
You
Don't
know?
overcomplicate things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's crucial. What would you say some of the negatives are when it comes to the development space? Like, I think we mentioned earlier, a lot of people just get really excited and start sharing. Like, what are some do nots for realtors when you're getting access to opportunities?
I would tell you definitely a major do not, and I'm glad you asked that question, is do not hoard the actual opportunity. And what I mean by that specifically is that, sometimes you come across an opportunity, the client's asked to keep it confidential. Then you share it with one person, you get your NDA or your confidentiality agreement signed type of thing. And all of a sudden that individual is hustling it to somebody else and so forth and so forth. So a deal that started off at, let's say, 10 million, all of a sudden ends up being at 15 million.
Wow.
Because what they're doing is probably inflating the price for negotiating purposes or even for their compensation.
Yeah.
So don't ever do that without someone's consent. Almost like we're not allowed to advertise a listing without the consent of the listing agent, as an example. Because when people do that to any one of my opportunities, I will never deal with them again.
Yeah.
I'm one of those that I don't care if it's a buyer, I don't care if it's a seller, I don't care if it's a fellow realtor, because I don't want to tarnish my reputation in the industry. So that is one big no. Another one is too many people are focusing on the compensation. Yes, we all need to get paid. But at the same time, too, is sometimes those types of conversations will deter the opportunity.
Yes.
So in commercial, it's a little bit different than residential. Sometimes you get paid from the selling side. Sometimes you get paid from the buying side. Sometimes you will even get paid as a co-alliance. So if you and I are working with the same buyer, you and I might say, let's build an alliance, get this deal done, and split that commission.
Yeah.
There are some agents that don't like that deal. So I don't deal with them. You know, again, if I'm bringing the buyer or I am sharing an opportunity with you that exposes your seller to, that's where I come from, is just sharing the opportunity, sharing the compensation. So those would be the two major things that I say are definite do not do in this industry.
Yeah, agreed. I've been, you get your forward, and then it's yeah, I definitely agree with that, man.
Yeah.
Definitely agree with that. I like how you keep it tight, and that's what sets you apart instantly too, right?
Correct.
Right. You get that reputation, and like you said, once you do well by one of these guys or multiple of them, they're gonna just stick with you because they see the difference.
And especially when you're dealing with, like I said before, that farmer that was fourth generation. You know, I hear these horror stories sometimes where they bought that acreage, 40,000 an acre or 20,000, which is way below what it should have been sold for. That irks me because that's their livelihood.
Yes.
They're expecting to obtain that money and do something else with it. So that's where I work on with both sides, really. And I understand both sides. So listen, everybody wants to make a profit. So does the seller at the same boat too, right?
Yeah.
Because again, they want to make sure that they're good for their next stage in their lives.
Yeah, awesome. Good karma.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Karma catches up. It's a matter of when, right?
Yes.
And I don't like bad karma whatsoever.
For sure.
And that's the thing too, is I like to deal with people with a positive mindset as well. If you're negative or you're gossiping about others, I don't have time for that.
Agreed, man.
And I agree with anybody else, in our industry. Don't be that person by the water cooler talking stuff about others type of thing, because it does come back. It's a lot of people in the industry, but it's at the end of the day a very small industry.
Yes, very small.
Yes, and I mean, even with yourself and your viewership, I mean, look how much you've excelled. You've had some major people on this platform, Virginia from Buzz Conference, and it's even people like Virginia that are doing these amazing in-person events, connecting us fellow realtors. And sometimes it's not talking about real estate. Sometimes it's talking about mindset and whatever the case may be. I am trying to get on her disruption one, speaking about commercial, because I think that people need to diversify, especially if the market's going to be in a downturn. I think commercial is a great opportunity for that.
Agreed. And that's where, like we spoke earlier, I'm trying to shift there as well.
There you go.
So
and I think it'd be a phenomenal idea because you got the platform right now.
Yeah.
It's, individuals like yourself, and we were talking about before about Tom Story and others. This is a great way to do it. I just don't personally do it myself, but you're very successful at it, which is great.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Yeah.
So as we near the end here, flies by, I know. I do want to touch more on your app because you seem super excited by it, and if we can share a little bit to the audience on it, give it some exposure because it might be useful for a lot of us, right? So,
definitely, yeah. So the app that we're designing, it's in the final design stages. It costs a lot of money to get into and implement. But the way it's going to work is that, one of the very first questions I'd ask is, are you working with a realtor? If they state yes, they'll have a drop down or they'll be able to type in the agent. So let's say they say, Matt Campoli is my sales agent. Right away, it doesn't go into anywhere else, into someone else's database, because I believe in protecting the realtor. But what that realtor will then know is if that person is looking at 12 Jane Street property, they will immediately get a notification that their client is looking at a property, giving them the ability to connect with that client to say, hey, I just saw that you were looking at 12 Jane Street. Why don't we have a conversation? Do you want to book a showing? So it's all real time. The other great thing about the app as well, it'll give you your regular data such as your solds and listed, terminated data as well. But what's going to be big is off-market.
Oh, nice.
There is no platform right now that does disclose off-market listings. So what I mean by that is even if someone owned a rental property that wanted to put it on there, they can put it on there. So for people like yourself that own, a rental property or management company, you want to list your properties on this website. On this app. The other biggie too is events. So I feel there's all these different platforms like Meetup and Rain groups and everything online. This is going to be a central area that if you wanted to host an event for all investors in the Vaughan area, you can launch it on this app as well. Because we're really trying to do everything in this one app per se So therefore, you don't have to go to multiple different platforms. That's the end goal.
Love it.
Thank
Do you have a name?
Not yet.
Okay.
Yes, not yet. And again, the reason we don't have a name is just because it's still in infancy stages. Because as you know, when you're developing an app, sometimes you set yourself high, then it starts to come down to a different stage. So now we're in that final stage, and then we'll be launching the app name. Yeah, but again, stay tuned for that. There's great ones that are currently on the marketplace, but I just felt that they were more dedicated to the brokerage, as I said before, rather than to the general population.
Nice.
So there'll be a subscription fee if you're a realtor. There's different stages of being part of the subscription per se, but it will be free to the end user, to the general public.
Awesome. You should name the app Matthew. Just an idea.
Oh, actually, one more thing about it that's very different is there's actually going to be a referral network set up.
Okay.
So, for example, my team, we focus a lot on the Halton region.
Yeah.
But if you're in Aurelia and someone actually is not working with an agent and says that they're looking for that area, there'll be a platform where they'll be able to actually say that they're going to be going after that particular client per se, and then they'll directly deal with them. And then after we just get a percentage of that referral fee. So it's what's called a carousel system. So let's say there's 10 agents, that first one will go to the first one. Once that one is done, it'll go to the second one. So what better way to connect with people?
Yeah, it's awesome. That's amazing. So last couple of minutes, I'd love to get your take on where you think the market's headed. It's January, end of January now. Sorry, it's February. Wow, today's February 1st. It's almost my birthday. What are your thoughts on 2023 with the real estate market as a whole?
Yeah, so again, because we deal with different types, luxury and commercial, and then we obviously do the regular resale. I think the fact that there's a lot of positivity stating that there won't be any further increases. If anything, they're saying there might be a decrease in the fourth quarter. It's definitely going to be helping us because people were just waiting on the sidelines to figure out if they're going to buy. What I'm starting to see is the old listings with the summer photos, they're all of a sudden being relisted. So if you did have one that you were thinking about doing it, the spring market is going to be the ideal time to do so. So I have about 2 or 3 that'll be launching coming soon as well because they were in that same stage. So I think the market's going to be good, but it's going to be short. You see what I'm saying? So therefore, if you don't take advantage of the spring market coming up, the rest of the year will be a little bit dire because it's going to be hitting summer, and then we're back to the same realm scope again. So, my suggestion would be keep after pre-construction. There's not going to be a lot of sales launches from the big developers in 2023, but look for the medium-sized to smaller developers. There's some good opportunities coming down your pipeline, and just really stick with the 3 things I was saying before, the pillars that you're best at, and really prioritize. It's going to be a struggle. I'm not going to lie, but be ready for it because a lot of people say, oh, I didn't know. You knew this was happening. So we're here at February 1st. Take initiative because anything you're doing now, the results will only come out 3 to 4 months later.
Exactly. Plug away.
Exactly.
Plug away. Well, Walter, you've been awesome, man.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. I wish you much success.
Likewise.
Yeah.
Where can your new fans find you?
They can find me online, social media. At acceleraterealtygroup.ca is our website as well. And I'm very, reachable. One thing I just say is, I can't be training people. I'm one of those people that I'm very honest right from the onset. But if you're looking to have the same type of mindset, we are definitely creating a group, as I mentioned to you before, of like-minded individuals. So reach out to me, and I'd love to have a conversation.
Fantastic. We'll post all your stuff in below.
Appreciate
also
it.
going to get your son Mason on soon too.
Oh, that'd be great.
So yeah, keeping the family, But to everyone out there, hope you guys enjoyed this one. I know I learned a lot just now. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your kitten. And also, Price to Sell merch. I'm wearing the sweater right now. If you haven't got a hat or a sweater or t-shirt, if you're into it, all the links are in the description. But we will look forward to seeing you guys on the next one. Peace.